Hey, what's up, guys? What's going on, man? I got a long week. It was some, you think you see it all when you see the Vikings beat the Colts. We'll get to that later.
Oh man.
And we'll get to the Patriots loss, which was ridiculous. But we'll definitely get to that. It's just been a wild week. The first thing I do want to start off with this article. I think Corey, who first posted it? Because a couple people sent it to me. Y'all heard of Rose, but Craig Rose sent it to me at first. Did I send it to you on IG? Craig?
I don't even know what this is referring to.
The coaches with the NFL.
Oh yeah, about the money when they fire them early. Yeah, when they fire them early and all these early firings and stuff like that.
Yeah. I might have sent it to you on IG, but it was sent to me, and then I was like, okay. And then somebody posted it in the chat. Might have been Corey or Craig. But the article was basically saying the NFL spent $800 million over the past 5 years on coaches and execs. And I don't think it's slowing up because I think it's going to happen this year again. It already happened with Matt Rule.
Right.
So it's probably going to happen with Cliff Kingsbury and Bidwell.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They just signed extensions. They just signed extensions
this summer. Yeah, this summer. Right.
So I'll start out with you, Mo, because this is your favorite topic. You like to say this every week. You might have fired all 32 NFL coaches at this point.
No, I didn't. No, I ain't done that. I never missed a Belichick. I ain't never say Belichick.
It might be Belichick or Andy Reid. Maybe 5. Listen. I'll say 25 coaches you said need to go.
Oh, at least 20. Yeah, at least 20. But
so I'm going to start out with you. I don't think this is going to change at all. Maybe it changes the scope that they contracts agree. Maybe they do a 3-year deal. But
I think that would change.
It could change. But what teams? What teams do you see making a coaching change next year?
I gotta go back to the assessments I sent. I think honestly, I think Tampa. I think Tampa makes a change. Dallas. I think Dallas makes a change. I think New Orleans makes a change. Keep going. Just
You think New Orleans makes a change?
Yes. For what the expectations were, and you've really had to my knowledge, no really serious injuries that could cost you out of a playoff race. You pretty much stayed intact for the majority of it, and them to look this bad. Like, think about this for a second. For what they still have on the roster, what they have there, they're about to miss the playoffs by multiple games. They're not even in it no more. They're not even in the conversation. Like, I just don't see him getting another shake because, one, why would you keep him there if you're going to probably end up drafting a quarterback, and then are you going to really give him the 2-3 years to develop the quarterback? So I think you make that move now. Because Andy Dalton ain't the long-term solution. Taysom Hill ain't the long-term solution. So you might as well go ahead and get a new coach now. Let them get a quarterback that they want and keep moving.
Okay.
Who else I said? I sent some joints out.
You said Dallas, I think.
Yeah. Dallas. Yes. Dallas.
You think they get rid of McCarthy?
I think so. The only way I see McCarthy staying is if they make the NFC Championship game. And I'm gonna point some reasons why. The two possible opponents that they would face if they were going to make the playoffs. They play San Fran. They lose first round. I don't even see him making it back to the plane. I don't even see him making it back to Dallas. Like, I see that being a firing. I don't see no conversation coming from that. But then if he wins, think about it for a second. He wins for you to lose to your division rival. For him to lose to Philly, I don't think Jerry Jones will sit there and say, oh, that was a 14-1 team, a great team. You lose to the divisional rival in the divisional round, I don't see him keeping McCarthy. I just don't see it. Even if it's close. Anything less then the NFC Championship game, I don't see him coming back. That's just me.
Okay. Well, I had the list right here. I'm about to tell you who you said. You said Arizona.
Yes, I honestly, I understand people will sit there and say D Hop was gone 6 games. No, I ain't trying to hear that. I'm sorry. I'm not. That has looked terrible. That team has looked terrible and it wasn't even supposed to look that bad. Like they look unprepared. They look uncoached. The offense, for him being this offensive guru and all this stuff, that offense looks absolutely terrible this year. Like it looked unprepared. It looked unprepared. It looks unfocused. Like I just don't see him. If they bring him back next year, then look at this. You bring him back next year for what? Like you might as well strike while the iron hot now because with what's name out for the at least 3/4 the year next year. What's name's out? Kyler Murray's out next year, so you're gonna struggle again. So what are you gonna give him another year pass and say, oh, we're gonna bring him back again? Like I just don't see it. I don't see the reason why doing that.
And you said Denver.
Yeah, Denver wouldn't surprise me. A one and done wouldn't surprise me at all. Like I think he would have to win out to keep his job. He would have to win out and probably have a conversation with the owner to kind of convince them that in year 2 they can do better with Russell Wilson and the weapons that's there. It is going to be a hell of a pitch, but I think he's going to win out. I think 1 or 2 more losses. I don't see him coming back. I think that might be one and done.
And you said Carolina's already fired. So
yeah, but they ain't gonna keep him. They ain't gonna retain him.
You said Houston.
Yeah, Lovey. I think Lovey gonna be one and done. I just don't see that. I think you might as well do that now. I don't see them doing that. I think they'll sit there. They'll go into a new coach and do their quarterback of the future. Because I mean, are we really saying they're gonna stay with Sam Mills?
Nah, I mean they're gonna have #1 pick, bro.
Yeah, you wanted to go quarterback, and if you're gonna go quarterback,
probably get
unless you want to keep Lovey there for multiple years, why even do that? Like, why even waste the time? It's not fair. I mean, we've seen it happen 1,000 times, but it's not fair to sit there and draft this quarterback knowing that in a year or 2 you about to fire his coach and have this kid keep running through coordinators and head coaches. Like if they know they're not keeping Lovey long term, you might as well just go ahead and cut the thread now and just hire somebody you want and just hire somebody so that they can pick the quarterback they want.
And then you said Tennessee.
That's so. Once I had a conversation with you, James, that kind of, I want to keep my question mark there, but it's just we've seen funnier stuff happen in the past. I get what you're saying. I agree with that. But we've seen funny things happen in the past, and I think it depends on how they end. Because if they end weak and then lose first round again, because think about last year, they was just a 1 seed, lost at home. If they was to lose to say Baltimore or Cincinnati, depending on who doesn't win the AFC North, they're going to play them probably as the 5 seed. They lose that, Lord have mercy, and God forbid they got to play Miami. Oh Lord, and God forbid they have to play Miami as a 5 seed. But I think what's going to end up happening is whoever doesn't win the NFC North is probably going to be that 5 seed. So yeah, if they lose again at home first round, I think I don't know. It's going to be a huge question mark for me. I can see your point of if that's how the structure is, he could be back, but I think it's going to be a very long conversation.
All right, Corey, which coaches do you think aren't coming back next year?
I think that there's 3 teams that are guaranteed to be looking for openings. Mm-hmm. 2 of them already are the Panthers and Colts, and I think the Broncos. Just that offense has looked far too inept, and Denver invested way too much in Russell Wilson for Nathaniel Hackett to keep his job. He has looked in over his head since this first week of the season, and unless he has blackmail on somebody, I don't see it happening. And then I think there's a series of teams that it's possible. I think there's a decent chance the Texans are looking for a head coach next year because they've won 1 game. And even though Lovey is in a no-win situation, I don't think that franchise knows what the hell they're doing. I think the Cardinals have to make a change. we've all been calling for it for over a year now. As we talked about last week, just they can't keep wasting Kyler Murray in his prime. You've got to get somebody that can get the most out of him. And then less likely ones are the Raiders. Although, if reports are to be believed, McDaniels has sold Mark Davis on a long-term plan, even though that makes no sense whatsoever. The Chargers, if they flounder and falter badly, they have too much invested in the short term to let Staley stay. And I think the Chargers are on par with the Cowboys in that I don't think Dallas fires McCarthy unless Jerry Jones thinks he's getting Sean Payton. If he has a backroom conversation and so Sean Payton says, yes, I'll take the Cowboys job, then Mike McCarthy's gone. Otherwise, I think he stays. I think Sean Payton will have his choice of jobs at the end of the season. If I was him, I would probably take that Chargers job with Herbert. Then again, I think if he thinks he can win with Dak and you've got a dominant defensive playmaker like Micah Parsons, it's interesting, but you still got to deal with Jerry. The Chargers, you got Bosa, you've got Khalil Mack, and you've got Justin Herbert. So looking around the landscape, those are the jobs that I kind of see.
All right. Craig, what teams do you see making a coaching change?
Well, I think the Colts, obviously. I thought Saturday might have had a chance to stay, but obviously got his first win, and then he's just fallen off since. And then the 33-point comeback was the nail on the
that was craziness.
I don't think he's going to come back. He'll probably interview for the job, maybe, but I don't think he's going to be the coach there next year. The Texans, they've the last couple of weeks against some really good teams, they've shown some fight. They've shown like they didn't look like the worst team in the league, but still came up short in those games. Had a chance to win both of those games, but I think Lovie Smith. I think them having the #1 overall pick, and I think they're going to want another coach to come in there and coach that new quarterback, whoever that's going to be, probably Bryce Young. So I think they'll go in that direction to get a new coach there, probably some young guy or something like that, at least an offensive guy to coach the Texans. I think the Broncos need a new coach. I like we've all said, the Broncos were a quarterback away, and then comes out and first game of the season kind of showed it for me that I didn't really think that Hackett was the guy after that first game, and he took the ball, they ran the clock down and took the ball out of Russell Wilson's hands. So I thought that was bad, and it didn't look good, and it hasn't changed since. They did get a win last week, but I don't even think if he wins out, I don't think he's going to be able to come back. I think the team they're just not responding to him. So, excuse me. In the NFC, I think that it's Cliff Kingsbury definitely. I think he's gone. I know the team has lost Kyler Murray for the rest of the season, and probably going to be gone into next season as well. And they didn't have D-Hop first 6 games of the season, but the team just looked bad. I thought they were going to be bad anyway. I didn't have them making the playoffs, but I mean 4-10 bad. I didn't think they were going to be 4-10 bad, but I mean they lost 4 games in a row now, so it doesn't look like their struggles are going to end anytime soon. And now they're supposed to be starting Trace McSorley, probably, who didn't look good at all last week in a little bit of time that he was on the field. So it's just not a good situation there for that team, even though he just signed an extension. But I don't think there's any way you can bring him back. And then whoever's going to be the coach has to know that you're probably not going to have Colt McCoy. You're probably not going to have Kyler Murray next year starting the season. So they got to be okay with that. And I would assume they would get a pass at least. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury's been there way too long to get another pass. So I look at the Saints. I know this is his first year. I just thought there was a lot of talent on the team. I had them going to the playoffs there. I thought there was too much talent on that team, especially on the defensive side. I thought James was going to be the starter, but he fizzled out early. He didn't really get another chance at it at all. I don't know. I think that was a mistake because it's not like Andy Dalton was lighting the field on fire with his play. They had a lot of chances to win a lot of games. They were in a couple games. The defense is pretty much what's been keeping them in games. They don't have any receivers outside of now Olave. Michael Thomas he hasn't really been there at all. Same thing with Alvin Kamara's had not a bad year, but like a down year for him. So that offense has just been stagnant. And I hate to say, I got to go with the Cowboys a little bit just because of the expectations on the Cowboys every year regardless of if the team is supposedly good or not, is always Super Bowl at least, or at least that's what the fans say. And there's always expectations. And so the team won the division last year. They lost in the first round with penalties and clock management issues. And their defense the last couple of weeks, for the most part, this hasn't really been good. They've kind of been looking like as an overrated defense. And a lot of the praise last year was because they got a lot of takeaways. They led the league in takeaways, especially the cornerback. I can't even think of his name. Diggs. So with that, they're not really getting a lot of turnover. But for the most part, it's not the same level of turnovers that they were getting last season. And the defense is kind of getting exposed. Started last week with the Jags. The week before that, like the Texans were dotting them up a little bit. So yeah, I think if they don't have a deep run, Dak has only won one playoff game. So, and he's been horrible since he's been back. I think he leads the league in interceptions. So they have to figure that out. They have to obviously figure out the clock management stuff. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite them. I think if they lose to Tampa though in the first round, which is pretty much who they're probably going to play at this point, if they lose to Tampa in the first round, I know it's a road game, or it would be a road game, but the way Tampa has looked, I don't think you can bring back McCarthy after that. Oh, and speaking of Tampa, I was just say Tampa because Tampa just looks bad as well. I don't know. I mean, I didn't think they were going to be this bad. I mean, they're 6-8 and they're leading the division still. That's terrible. So any little hiccup, I mean, if Carolina blew it last week, which is I'm not really mad at, but Tampa just doesn't look. So I don't know how you can bring back Todd Bowles into that group, and I don't probably Tom Brady might not be there. So maybe if you don't have Tom Brady there, maybe you can bring him back, or look and say, okay, we don't have time, we can bring him back. I don't know how that's going to work, or maybe you just want to start afresh and just get a new quarterback in there and a new head coach in there. Maybe Bruce Arians comes back when Tom Brady's not there. Who knows? But I think they need to do something because the team responded last year the last couple of years when Bruce Arians was there, and they haven't responded at all with almost the same type of team with Todd Bowles there. So
Bruce Arians ain't letting Tom Brady come up with his own game plan.
I think, I think if the Chargers make the playoffs, which I have them making the playoffs, I think Staley's fine. I think he'll be the coach next year. But that's him and maybe McDaniels, but they're kind of like the two of the big iffy ones. But I think they'll both be back next season. So
yeah, I agree with everybody, right? Guaranteed. Carolina already fired Matt Rule, so they're looking. Colts, that's almost kind of like a guarantee.
You've blocked them out this season. It's understandable.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Same with the Colts. They're guaranteed to be looking for coaches. I agree with Craig. I don't know if they bring Saturday back there. I don't know. I don't think so. I would hope not. And I don't know if he wants to come back. But we'll see.
He does.
He does. Oh, well, that'll be a discussion in the off season. I think Denver, Hackett, new ownership. I think Hackett, in the words of Rob Parker, can't hack it. Whatever the cliche pun he said. I don't think he can coach. Sometimes it's a benefit to having Hall of Fame players, but when you're a head coach, there's so much more that you have to do. It's not just calling plays. It's a lot that goes into being a head coach. you're basically running the team. It's like you're the GM. You come up with schedules, you come up with practice schedules, you come up with team meetings. It's a lot. I just don't think. I think he's overwhelmed and can't handle it. Then you got Arizona. Y'all said Cliff Kingsbury. I don't know why they resigned him, but at this point, you kind of gotta let him go. And then, I mean, I don't know if they give the coach. We as fans, we always say that coach is gonna have a year, and it's like I don't know because the way the NFL is, even if if, say a coach comes in like Lovie Smith and Kyle Murray misses the whole year, and the Cardinals are 1 or they're 2-15, that coach is getting fired. Yeah, that's the only problem with the NFL. It's like, and then you don't want to turn down a job, right? So, the owners can guarantee you, but I don't think anybody's bringing that back. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4 teams that we kind of know. Now here's the thing: we always think it's 4 or 5 teams, but it ends up being 7 to 8. So I definitely agree with the Cowboys, even though I don't think they'll lose. But if they lose in Tampa, that's going to be a thing. They're probably going to move on McCarthy and either elevate Dan Quinn or Kellen Moore. I don't agree with you, Mo, about Tennessee. I think if they fire Vrabel, it's a lot of teams that will love him. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I don't think McDaniel goes anywhere. I think Stanley stays because I think the Chargers, that was a big win against Miami. They have a soft schedule. I think they make the playoffs. A team, I agree with New Orleans. I think they've looked bad, and I think Dennis Allen's not a good head coach. I think he's a great D coordinator, but once again, it's hard being a head coach, and I don't think the team responds to him well. And the whole Jameis Winston thing, I think a lot of that's kind of it's misfortunate. It's misfortunate that Jameis lost his job to injury and not play. And I just don't see any. I don't know. Maybe they're looking at practice, but I would have went with Jameis. I don't know why he's went with Andy Dalton, and that's the reason why he might lose his job. And to be honest, I kind of, if I was a GM, I would let him go. I'm not a big 1-year guy, but I would just at the end of the season, I'd be like, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. You shouldn't have started Andy Dalton. You gotta go. That's just me. But whatever. A surprise could be the Washington Commanders. I think if Ron Rivera don't make the playoffs, it's new ownership. They might clean house. I with new ownership comes, you have a mediocre team. You've been there 3 years, and
Want to bring in their people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be mad at it. So, I think it's almost time for a change. Too much Carolina connections. So we'll talk about that later. But I think that could be a surprise move, and Cleveland could be a surprise move too. We never know. Every year you were like, "Dad, you got fired." So don't be surprised just because the way they're playing. I mean, I know they beat Baltimore, but they've been playing bad as of late. So, I wouldn't be surprised if those two teams, let go of their head coaches, So it's gonna be interesting. It's always like 3 to 4 teams, and the next thing you know, on Black Monday it's 8 teams. Like, damn, it's 8 teams. It's almost like that every year. All right.
Hey James, hold up. Hey, right quick. Because of his late run, you think McDaniels gets a pass? Because of his late run when he went on that 3-4 game winning streak or whatever, did he get a pass now?
I think he had a pass before that. I think the ownership came out multiple times and had his back. Before that, I don't think they were going to let him go. So, they might let go of Derek Carr, but that's a future topic.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get to the the other crazy losses that we have, all right. the Patriots lost to the Raiders on a crazy last-second toss back. Stevenson passes, the running back passes to Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers throws it to Mac Jones. These are the Patriots. And then Chandler Jones. I don't know, man. I don't want to say it was disrespectful, but that's a hell of a picture. He might get that hung on his wall because Chandler Jones stiffed on Mac Jones into the ground like he was a little kid, man. It was kind of, I was like, good gosh, you know? So it was very interesting. Corey, I'm gonna start with you. This is very unusual for a Patriots team. And I heard that it wasn't a coach's call. What do you think happened, Corey?
I think you can't discount the fact that you have a defensive coach as the offensive coordinator for the Patriots this year. So a coaching staff that has prided itself on situational football, you have people out of place. I think Belichick has made a mistake in not replenishing some of his staff and being ready for some of that. There's no excuse for it. It is being looked at as possibly the dumbest play in NFL history at this point. Like that, I don't know what you do with that, how you get past that. If you're New England, and if you're Belichick, you have to be furious, just fuming. I mean, but you look at the rest of the offense, it's awful. Mac Jones hasn't necessarily been terrible, but he hasn't shown any progression from last year. His receivers are failing him. Stevenson is really the lone highlight of that offense. And apparently he went rogue and decided to do it himself. It's
crazy.
Yeah. I can't say I've seen anything like this before from New England. It's really surprising. And does Belichick start questioning after something like this how much he wants to coach?
Yeah. Craig, what do you think, man? This is unusual for Patriots.
I've watching football for a while, like a long time, and I've seen the butt fumble.
The butt fumble was crazy, man.
I've seen
it was crazy.
I've seen Leon Lett have 2 mishaps in the same season.
The snow, right? One was the snow game, right?
Against the Dolphins on Thanksgiving and Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl. Don Beebe. Yeah, okay.
Seen Gus Frerotte butt his head into the wall after a touchdown.
Jeez, man.
I've seen receivers or whoever just run over top the sideline or run over top the goal line before they get to the end zone would drop the ball. Yeah. But I've never seen nothing like this before. This is the dumbest play I think I've ever seen in football. I've never seen. I can understand if you were losing the game, but the game is tied. All you have to do is just take a knee. Maybe they still lose in overtime, but at least you went to overtime. You had an opportunity, maybe at least on defense, to get a stop. Whatever the case may be, you still get a touchdown. Cool, you lose the game in overtime. But to lose the game like this is it's not even the fact. I mean, it is the fact that it's the Patriots because it's something that you don't really associate dumb plays with the Patriots or whatever, but it's just the fact that it happened in general. Like I didn't think I've ever. This never crossed my mind in terms of plays that I thought I would ever see. So I understand that. To me, it's 100% on the players. But yeah, I do agree with Corey. The fact that they don't have an offensive coordinator or an offensive guy there in general to alleviate some of that and tell them, in certain type of situations what to do and what not to do. I mean, if you're Stevenson, yeah, you can't make that pitch to Myers. But if you're Myers, you can't make the throw back to your quarterback either. Like at some point, somebody has to. I mean, and they're running towards their sideline, so I don't know if their sideline is telling them to get down or not. Like do whatever you got to do, not to do what he did. And then Mac Jones, I mean, he was just a deer in the headlights. He was, nothing you can do. You can't really tackle Jones like that. I mean, you can try to make an effort, I guess. It'd have been, but he was done. So, I mean, like I said, it's 100% on the players. But yeah, you also got to look at Belichick and that staff and figure out why there was no offensive type of coach there. Excuse me, all season, and we've seen it all season. Like it's not the. I mean, the offense hasn't been the same, hasn't been good, hasn't been anything. So, even Mac Jones has looked like he's regressed a lot compared to last year. So, I mean, but if this keeps this team out of the playoffs, I mean, you have to something has to happen in the offseason for this team. Like obviously, the number one thing to me is get an offensive coordinator. But I mean, like I don't know, man. Like Myers, he did take 100% accountability for it, but this is a bad look, man.
I mean, I'm right in agreement with you, and I'm just reading it. He said that Kobe Myers said, "I was just trying to be a hero." What, like, you're tied. It's not like you're down by 7-3. You're tied. Just go down. That means you get another quarter. I like, to be honest, I don't think I see the Raiders driving all the way down and scoring a touchdown. I think they would have gotten to field goal range. I think it would have, and then the Patriots would have got another chance. I think so. I don't think it would have, like, this ended crazy, man. And I think you're right. I think Belichick might have lost a little bit of locker room. I've never seen his players do something like this. It's like, let's just see it. We're not going to get in trouble anyway. What? What's going on? And you might be right. It might be having a defensive coordinator and a special teams coach as an offensive coordinator. And listen, my thoughts on Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones is a good quarterback. I think he's I think if you put tools around him, he comes in, he works, he's accurate. I don't think he has a deep arm strength, but he's probably like, I don't want to say that. He's probably 15, good quarterback. I think he could have a long career. Like a Tannehill or Cousins or Garoppolo, where he's accurate but just doesn't have the arm strength. I think that's his ceiling. I would like to have him as a commander quarterback. I think he's better than what we have. I think we would, if we had Mac Jones, we wouldn't even be in this conversation. I think we would have won. I would probably say we would have won maybe 2 more games with Mac Jones. That's what I think. Just 2. I'm not saying crazy. He's that good or elevates us. But I think that he's regressing to the point where it's like, I wonder if they trade him. I don't know. This is why I've been hearing stuff in the offseason, but you never know. I hope they don't. They would be idiots to do it. Who knows? They might get Jimmy Garoppolo to come back there. We don't, NFL, we've seen crazy stuff happen this offseason. So I just think this is getting out of control. And you know what's funny? If Belichick comes back, if they miss the playoffs this year, Belichick comes back to next year and they miss the playoffs, this is going to start being remembered as part of his legacy. And listen, we've all seen it. We've seen some head coaches go down bad. Like Phil Jackson. I watched the Lakers' legacy. His last Lakers game, they got swept by the Mavs. Yeah, and he stepped down. Nobody talks about that, right? Because it was like, oh, it's a blip. Because he just went to 3 straight finals back to back. So it's like, all right, blip. Nobody talks about Jordan 2 years in the Wizards because it was a blip. It's a blip. Boop, bing, gone. If he continues to make these type of decisions, right now it's a blip. If he retires this offseason, all right, cool. But if he coaches and every year they regress, or he continues to make these crazy decisions and they don't work out, and he's still coaching in 5 years, and we're like, okay. Well, it just starts kind of tarnishing his legacy. Just a little bit, just a tad bit, So, but what do you think about that crazy play?
Oh, man. First of all, I mean, you called it a draw, right? Situational football. It was a call, run, draw. I don't know if they changed the play, but it was a draw. Mm-hmm. once you seen, of course, you wasn't gonna break it. You wasn't gonna get down in time enough to kick a field goal because the time was already 0. Get down. But okay, I understand it. We've seen this before from running backs or whoever. He tossed it to the receiver. So I can't say he's wrong, but we've seen this story before. But here's what happens. The wide receiver, Myers. You turn around and toss the ball backwards over 30 yards or 20 yards to probably one of the top 5 to 7 unathletic quarterbacks in the league. What was Daniel Jones about to do with that? What was Daniel Jones really about to do with that? And then you leave him out to the woods to tackle this 6'6", 270-pound DN outside linebacker edge rusher. Now, could Daniel Jones have made a better effort? Sure. Yeah, that was just pissed off.
I don't, maybe. Well, we don't know, bro.
I mean, yeah.
He just called a bullet.
Yeah, I know. It was bad. No, at first.
By the time it's best.
I'm not going to fault Mac for not taking down Chandler Jones.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. But so it was bad.
He was going to make a pass or something.
Right.
It was just. I said, I think Myers thought that if he passes it back to Jones,
he's gonna make
throw the ball.
Yeah, he's gonna catch it and make a long pass.
On the left side of the field, it might be open. I don't know, but
can you do that?
I don't know how you don't. Yeah, you can do that.
No, okay.
It was a backward pass, right?
Yeah, they got penalized for it. Yeah, they got penalized for the throw that he did.
It was a run.
I don't know. But what were they penalized for?
I
don't even know what's going on.
I don't know.
It was a penalty on the play. Was the penalty had to be on New England because they counted the touchdown.
Throwing the ball. No, you can't throw it. I don't know.
I don't know if you can throw it back.
No, you can't.
Yeah. You can't throw it backwards. Like once he did that, you can't throw it all together. Yeah.
Scratch that. I was thinking about USFL or something.
But in an important game like this, basically New England's done. They got what? Cincinnati this week. So this pretty much gonna cost them the playoffs.
They got Cincinnati.
And then what? They went to playoffs last year, got totally blown the brakes beat off of by Buffalo. And then you do this year. I agree with this. James, I agree with you. I think it is time to if you want to save your legacy, I think it's time to retire. Like right now it's a blimp. These last 2 years have been bad, but you can save face and it can be a blimp. But if you stay around, because the AFC ain't going nowhere.
Jesus.
Right now, looking at it, let's just say this. Let's just look and take a deep dive into next season already. Going into next season, we can honestly sit here and already say without batting an eye, you're the 4th best team in your division next year. Already.
Yeah.
Like talent-wise, fully healthy, even with Zach Wilson at quarterback. Right now, I would sit there and say, roster-wise, you are the 4th best team in your division going into next year. And that's not even talking about the rest of the AFC. So I just think,
that's a good point.
You really just stay around just a coach. You're not in championship contention no more. You're barely going to be in playoff contention. Looking forward right now, like what are you staying around for? For wins, hoping you just break the all-time record, or would you just try and break the record and get on? Like what are you staying for?
Yo, that's crazy because Jacoby Myers said nobody even discussed it in the huddle. They said the play was for him. They said the play was for Stevenson to go down. I think what Stevenson was trying to do was to pass it back and he's
everybody trying to
he's probably thinking Jacoby's gonna run upfield.
Nah, just once Jacoby seen what it was,
Jacoby turned around and made a pass. No,
I'm sorry, I can't give him that pass. I don't want to hit no heat in the moment. You got to fall down. Like once you see he handed you that joint,
should have ran. Should just ran like everybody.
Run and get tackled or fall down. Go to overtime. It's a tied ball game.
I'm like Craig said. I've never seen a receiver turn around and throw a 40-yard pass to a quarterback.
But think about this. Before, I don't know.
That. On the lateral, I always see like this.
Hey, was it a timeout before? So I'm venturing it was some type of timeout before this. So you got a chance to talk to your coaches. You came out of the huddle. Everybody looks up at the scoreboard. I don't care if it's a quarterback, wide receiver. People look up at the scoreboard. You had to see the time and the score. It's tied.
What?
It's tied. Like, come on. Like, this is ridiculous.
I don't know what he's doing.
That play doesn't even happen if the referees get the call, the touchdown before that, right? With Keelan Cole.
Yep.
Out of bounds.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
they all that out of bounds. Like I don't know how they missed. Referees messed up all week.
They've been messing up a lot.
If they saw that right, I think then I mean you don't even get that stupid play. But
They got some decisions to make in the offseason about the referees. For
I'm
real.
glad that happened because it gave me something that I've never seen before. I can always say in every single sport, there's something I've never seen before. A pass in basketball, a stupid play like this, whatever. Always something.
I don't even know what he was thinking. But I mean, people are going to be talking about that for a very long time.
Especially if they don't make the playoffs. Yeah, they're going to be talking about that for a while.
For a long, if they don't make the playoffs, like if they're one game out, that's
the reason why.
But
yeah.
I mean,
if this is the reason why they don't make the 7th seed, it's going to be talked about for a very long time.
But I mean, how would they get in now? Chargers have to lose 2 games or something like that now.
Yeah, they got a tough schedule too.
Something weird. It's something weird.
At least they did last week.
They got a tough schedule.
I hate to say this for the
damn, they got Bengals, Dolphins, and Bills.
Yeah. Oh Lord. Yeah. That's not gonna work for you. That's not gonna work.
Right, because if they would have won against the Raiders, then you're talking about a whole different momentum. Everything going into with the Bengals, man. So I mean, hey, this is gonna be talked about for a while. All right, Craig. 3 things happened. The biggest comeback in NFL history ever. The Commanders losing to the Giants, and the Cowboys losing to the Jags. I guess we could. I know you could discuss all 3, and then we go into the thoughts of playoffs. So I'm gonna start with you, Vikings. What are your thoughts of seeing the Vikings? Huge comeback.
I mean, well, when they were down 30-0, I was like, I'm done. I can't watch this game anymore. So it stayed on the TV because there was nothing else on. So I let it stay on, and then I just said to myself, what if they come back? And I was like, nah, they ain't coming back. And then slowly but surely, they just started chipping away and coming back. And next thing you know, the game is tied. And then they missed that scoop and score fumble.
Yeah. I think that was a bad call too.
Yeah, and I said, well, that's it. They're not going to win this game. And then they got the opportunity to get the ball back, and then ended up going to overtime, and then they ended up winning the game. I mean, I don't know if I ever thought I'd see a greater comeback than that Buffalo. I don't even really remember the Buffalo.
Houston? I did, yeah.
I remember it vaguely, but only thing I really remember is the last play where they got the touchdown when they allowed it back, and then he ran it in for the touchdown. Other than that, I really don't know. But this game, at least I saw it, and I can remember it. I seen what happened and things like that. So obviously, it's a big loss for the Colts, but at the same time, it improves their draft stock. So they need to. They're obviously, I would assume they're looking for a quarterback in this upcoming draft. So that's going to be an improvement for their draft stock. So, but as far as the Vikings go, it's another close win for them. Every game has been a 1-score game that they've won. The fact that they got down 33-0 in the first place is kind of crazy to me, but I mean, it shows that they are able to come back in certain games if they need to, or they have the firepower to come back. Obviously, with the team that they have, it's just Kirk Cousins is just, I don't trust him, especially in the playoffs or in big game situations. But obviously on the other side, they lost Taylor early in the game. Matt Ryan, I don't think Matt Ryan had 200 yards passing. I don't think he did. I mean, that's kind of crazy. A lot of their scores, they got a defensive score. They got a punt block. They got scored. Was another score. But I mean, Matt Ryan just looked old and lost out there. So obviously, Colts need to get a quarterback for this upcoming draft.
Yeah, you're right. He had 182 yards passing, Craig.
It was bad. I mean, if you're just looking at the score and you see 33-0, you might, and you didn't see any other game, you might think, oh, Matt Ryan got 200
touchdowns,
touchdowns, and you look at the stats and you see that he doesn't, and it's just like, how are they up this much? But yeah, man, it was a crazy game. That was a crazy game. I called the Cowboys and the Jaguars. I said the Jaguars were going.
You did upset.
It was a good game. It was another good game. Dak just looks. I don't know. Jerry Jones saying his quarterback was outstanding I don't know what he's trying to do. I don't know if he's trying to get Dak more confidence or whatever it is, but he said he was outstanding. He was not. His completion percentage was really good. But in certain moments where he needs to make a play, he's just like, especially that first interception that he had on 2nd and 18 or whatever it is from like their own, they were in like side of 10 or something like that. He just, I don't know who he was throwing the ball to. I think he was trying to throw the ball to Schultz. He overthrew Schultz. It ended up being an interception. But I mean, you're up 27-10. You're supposed to be having this game coming up next week against the Eagles. Parsons is talking about the Eagles are not, or Jalen Hurts is not all that or whatever it is, saying stuff like that. And then you lose. You have a close game against the Texans. Then you lose to the Jaguars. I mean, I think this is the real Cowboys team. This is what's going to happen to me, I think, in the playoffs. I would be surprised if they lost to Tampa, honestly. It's because I don't trust Dallas in the playoffs. I don't, like, there's nothing about them that makes me sit there and be like, okay, I think the Cowboys can make a Super Bowl run, because they'll win like 7 games, 8 games in a row, and then they'll have one game like this where it reminds me that, oh, yeah, that's them. That's who they are. So I don't trust them at all. And as far as the Commanders game goes against the Giants, there was a lot of missed calls in that game, man. Like, it was a good defensive game. I thought the Commanders were going to win.
It's a lot of missed calls, but
I thought that the refs, to me, need to stop calling, like, stop blowing the whistle early before, especially on turnovers, before
that joint blows me.
Happens. Like, the guy for the Giants, they sacked Heineke, and then they blew the whistle, and then there was nobody around the Giants, so they could have scooped and scored. They could have done anything. Maybe he still falls on it like he did, and the Commanders come over there or whatever because the whistle blew. But let the play develop. Let it finish. Then go back. All turnovers are reviewed anyway. So then you could go back and review the turnover. If you need to put time back on the clock because he was down or he didn't fumble or whatever, take the score off, put the time back on the clock, and then start from there. Like, I don't understand why you can't just let the play finish and then come back to it. It's just weird. I don't know what was going on this weekend with the referees, but that was strange. And then the whole Terry McLaurin thing where he checked with the ref. And
that was crazy.
Whatever, Rhamondre, I don't know, and he said he was good or whatever, and then he checked again and he moved up or whatever, and it still he had his hand on the flag, like he was ready to. Like, come on, guys, that's.
He was like, "Hey, am I good, rep? Yeah, you good, you good."
That's a bad call. The touchdown, and then the whole pass interference thing. If pass interference is like that in the first quarter, it's like that in the fourth quarter. I know the referees want to swallow; they don't want to determine the game, but if you're going to call that same in the first quarter, you got to call it then. Like, that should have been a. I don't know what was going on this weekend. I mean, I'm not saying the Commanders got screwed, because I thought that scoop and score that could have happened, that could have put the game out.
Yeah,
for the Giants, but who knows? I mean, maybe they tackle them. Maybe, I don't know what happens. But even still, referees have, I don't know what was going on this weekend with the refs. So that's kind of my take on those 3 big games this past weekend.
Yeah, man. So a quick story about the Vikings. I remember when Buffalo Bills beat the Houston Oilers. This is funny. I was watching it, and I was like, well, my dad was like, it's 35-3. The game's over. Jim Kelly's out. Backups in. I was like, I'm a little kid. I'm optimistic. I'm probably like 10, 11. I'm like, I'm just going to watch it because it's football. And then I was like, my dad came upstairs like, oh, wait, why are you screaming? I was like, Dad, it's 30, you know what I'm saying? They're in overtime. He's like, they made a comeback? And I was like, yeah. And it was like kind of cool because I got to watch history. This time comes around. I'm talking trash. I'm like, this is over. What is the NFL doing? This is sickening. It's sickening. I don't even like the Vikings. The Vikings are who I thought they were. We let them off the hook. Here we go again, right? And then I was like, and I think I said in the text, I was like, all right, I'm done. And then I sat back. Nothing is on TV, so it's playing. And then I look, and I'm like, yo, Faith. I was like, wait a minute. I texted and said, wait a minute. They just scored 14 really quick. And I was like, all right. Then when they got 21, I was like, okay, now guys, I think everybody should be watching this. I was like, if the Vikings make a comeback, this is ridiculous. I was like, I'm sorry, Corbin. I was talking a lot of trash. I said, if y'all bring back Jeff Saturday after this is wild because you definitely should have won. And then I thought when they did the fumble, I was like, oh, man. But once again, it was a bad call by the refs. Then next thing you know, boom. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, can the Vikings win? This is crazy. And then when they won, I was like, the NFL's done it again. But that's just 33-0 is just it's crazy. But I'm glad to be a part of history and watch it. I'm glad I didn't turn it. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad it was like I saw it. I saw 14. I didn't see the 7. I saw the 14 and was like, let me start watching this. As far as the Commanders to the Giants, I'm with you, Craig. It was a rack of bad calls, but I don't blame the refs. I blame our offense. And once again, this is my problem with Heineke. He's limited. And I know fans love him. But I'm talking to the Commanders fans. Let it go. He's a backup. It's okay. We're one of the other 15, 20 teams in the NFL that has problems with quarterbacks. It is what it is. He should have made a lot of throws, and he's on Colin Cowherd and he's at the hockey game drinking. I'm like, okay, and then you come out and 12 points on Sunday Night Football, national televised game, looking bad. You gotta take that. You gotta eat that, Heineke. You're a backup. It's okay. It's okay to be a backup. You worked your way up. It's okay. Not a lot of people start their NFL quarterbacks. It's not. To be honest with you, it's probably 15 every year. 15, maybe 16. You got the top 10, and then you got the other like 7 that are starters that are good, that every franchise would like to have. So I do agree with you. That's definitely going to be a topic in the future about the referees, because I think they have to discuss it. They have to at this point. It's kind of getting out of control. The Jags, you did call it, and hey, man, Trevor Lawrence. He's I ain't gonna lie, man, but we all thought that. We discussing Trevor Lawrence. We knew he was going to be good. We just thought he needs Doug Peterson. I would have just loved it if the Jags would have hired Doug Peterson or any coach instead of Urban Meyer. I think we will be seeing a better Jags team. But I mean, Jags team is playing good. And I thought to myself, I was like, yo, what if they would have drafted Thibodeau or Hutchinson? Man, I haven't really heard anything about Walker, but I hear a lot about Hutchinson and Thibodeau. Thibodeau caused us havoc. I can only imagine if Jacksonville drafted him. Man, what a difference, man. Not saying I think Walker, I'm not saying he might not become a good pick, but I'm just saying those two look like they're going to be all pro staples. Like they look like they're going to be difference makers. So that's what I thought about that. So Mo, we're gonna do the 3 thoughts, and then we're gonna come back to Craig about the playoff picture. But your thoughts about the Vikings upset over the Colts, the Commanders losing to the Giants, and the Cowboys losing to the Jags.
What a comeback. I turned it off. I was sitting there. It was funny. I called a buddy of mine. I said, man, at halftime, I said, oh, Kirk Cousins and them need to sit. I wouldn't have Kirk Cousins out there no more. I wouldn't have
You'd have took everybody
none of them
out.
out there no more. I'd have took everybody out if it was me. But then I said, well, let's see. I said, let's see after this first drive. So then I kept checking on my ESPN app. I kept checking. I said, hold up, wait a minute. I looked again. I said, hold up, wait a minute. Then I said, oh, wait a minute. They done cut the 2 scores. So then I went to the game. So then when I seen the Dalvin Cook screen, I said, oh man. I said,
that was the 20. Was that 21?
Nah, I think that was tied up. I think that screen might have tied it up, if I'm not mistaken. And then they went for the 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I said, oh Lord. I said, oh, they done let them. I said, this can't be happening. And then I said, if it go in overtime, I said, please let the Colts get the ball first and score. Because if they don't, it's about to be ding ding. Epic comeback. Minnesota looked as probably as bad as you could look coming out. They got it together. I think they saw some writing on the walls too. Be professionals, you come back. But I think they're trying to fight for that 2 seed. I think they don't want to go to 3. I think they see what could possibly be there. I think they might feel safer at 2, facing a team that might lip into the playoffs more at 7 than at 6. So I think they won't say that out loud, but those things happen. Our game, I don't want to hear about the refs. And James, I called you about this, and I think I called Todd about this. For us to look like that offensively coming off the bye against the same team you just faced 2 weeks ago is unacceptable.
Craziness. We
look scared and unprepared. Like offensively, we look scared. We look like we didn't want no parts of anything. We look like we were unprepared. And as an offensive coordinator, how do you make the same mistake you made 2 weeks ago? You sat there and you went shotgun inside your 5. It wasn't even 3rd down. And then the dude who's been tearing you up for the last 3-4 series before that play, you leave him unblocked. That wasn't an offensive line fault. That was a protection call. You leave the best defensive player on Giants team by far unblocked. Like that's unacceptable to me. Offensively, we just looked scared. We kept running the same stuff. We kept trying to run the jet sweep. Then we kept running it to Thibodeau's side. We kept trying to leave him unblocked, and clearly he was making plays, but you ran nothing else off of it kind of consistently to make him have to change up how he was playing. He basically was able to play the same way he was playing the whole game. So it was unacceptable. I don't want to hear about the refs. Like our defense gave us everything they could give us. Our offense just looked trash. I'm a little unprepared. Finally, we got the ball downfield to Dobson, and then we didn't go back to it. We didn't go back to giving him the ball. Like, it was right there. The Giants ain't got no receiver that can check him, no corner that can check him on them routes like that. Like, we didn't go back to it. So it was just terrible to me. And to be honest with you, I kind of was high on Rivera coming back, but to be honest with you, I kind of lost. I don't want to say respect, but I kind of am disappointed in the fact that I didn't hear about any closed door meetings because it was that bad. Scott Turner should have been called in the office. Like, how do we play the same team coming off the bye and look that bad offensively? That shouldn't have been accepted. Like, I feel like it should have been some type of closed door meeting, some type of meeting. Like, why, how do we look like this? It was that bad against a team defensively that's not built like that. That's not that good to me. The Cowboys game, yeah, we can sit there and put on that, but your defense looked trash. Your defense looked real soft. Rex Ryan even said, this defense is soft. He said, back-to-back weeks, and this is unacceptable, but they said a stat that in the last 2 weeks, against probably 2 of the worst offensive lines in the league, teams have gotten 72 dropbacks, and you only got 1 sack. Against the Texans and the Jaguars. You got 1 sack in the last 2 games against 72 dropbacks. Like, yeah, we can sit here and say that, but that right there is unacceptable. Especially if you're talking about your elite defense. With dudes who are with almost, if I'm not mistaken, at least 3 or 4 dudes who are either about to get paid or top 3 round draft picks. So it's no excuse there. So, I mean, yeah, we can say the offense, but at the end of the day, that offense put up 30-plus points. You got to win. You know what I'm saying? You got to get the stops necessary to win the game. The last throw, the interception pick 6 was not on that. The wide receiver clearly dropped it. You got to make that catch. I've seen even the worst receivers make that catch. Like, he straight dropped that. I'm sorry. Like, you got to make that catch. So he straight dropped that. I can't put that on that. And to be honest with you, now I think it opens the Pandora box of the division basically done. I mean, it's all but a formality that you're going to lose the division. So now you get ready for the 5 seed. Honestly, I think that might be the best move for Dallas. I think them starting on the road against Tampa might be better because if they were at home hosting a playoff game, that might put the more pressure on them. I think they might be better. I think they might be better with the backs against the wall, going on the road, less chatter, go on the road, face Tampa Bay. I think that might be better for them. But yeah, that's definitely my take on the 3 issues.
All right, Corey.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Okay. During that game, I had multiple people texting me that the game was over. And I tried to tell people no.
You
not
did
necessarily.
say that.
Look, there was I saw it. I saw it coming. The potential was there because you had a Vikings offense that is explosive. They can put up points in bunches. And you have a Colts offense that can't throw the football. Like Matt Ryan, he's done. There's a reason he's benched again. Now, why you're putting in Nick Foles at this point in the season, I don't know. Whole different discussion. Another reason why Jeff Saturday shouldn't be head coach, but I digress.
Just go at the rookie. At this point, why don't you just go with the rookie?
Yeah. Islinger's in his second year. He needs the reps. When you were 4-4-1, then you throw out Nick Foles because he's a competent NFL quarterback, and who knows?
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. So, I don't know what they're doing at this point. But yeah, Matt Ryan can't throw the football. They had the play calling from the Colts in that game was just like it was at the end of last year with Carson Wentz. It showed that they have zero faith in their quarterback's ability to throw the football. And when you're constantly going 3 and out, you can't get first downs, you can't move the football, then it opens the door for a team to come back. And then when you have a defensive coordinator who decides to play prevent defense and give up large chunks to the offense in the third quarter, then yeah, it's going to happen. So it was kind of frustrating to watch. I know long-term it needed to happen. The Colts needed to lose to improve draft position because they have to get a quarterback, plain and simple.
Yeah.
But watching that kind of loss is never fun. Fortunately, the Patriot debacle happened the next day, so
I'm about to say.
But there's no defending it. It's bad situational football from Saturday. It's a bad job of coaching that second half. It was bad play calling. And it further exposed Matt Ryan camp. I know he's a great guy in the locker room. Teammates like him. His arm's just gone.
Yeah.
It's an embarrassing loss, but I'm not 100% sure it's any more embarrassing than the fourth quarter in Dallas 2 weeks prior.
Yeah.
As for your game, James, I think kind of got glimpses like the Giants might be legit. That defense looked good. Kayvon Thibodeau, I said last week that he might be the best player on the field defensively for either team, and he was. He dominated both in the running game and pass game. Looked phenomenal. And if you're Terry McLaurin, you can't screw up like that. I know a lot of Commanders fans are trying to blame the refs for that, but the response from the official after the game is right. The officials are under no obligation to help teams line up correctly. McLaurin asked if he was in the correct spot. The ref said no, told him to scoot up. And instead of taking a full step forward, he just barely inches his foot forward and is clearly not going to be enough. And the ref at that point was not obligated to tell him to keep scooting up to get lined up correctly. And even if McLaurin did scoot up again to get lined up correctly, he probably would have been moving, which would have been a illegal movement and been a penalty anyways.
Illegal shift, yeah.
Yes.
It's a legal shift.
So McLaurin's a veteran receiver. He's a good receiver. And he was a full yard off the line of scrimmage. So you can't make that mistake in that kind of time. And those are the kind of mistakes that cost you. And it did. Now, so for Dallas, I know that Jacksonville is playing better, and we'll kind of touch on that in a bit. I know Lawrence had a pretty good game. I'm not going to put that game on Dak because that pick six, the ball was in his receiver's hands. It's you got to catch it. But if you're the Cowboys, that's the type of game you have to win.
Yeah.
I get the Cowboys may have overlooked the Jaguars, knowing that the massive matchup with Philadelphia was coming a week later. But now they're in position to potentially not take advantage of a game head-to-head against the Eagles without Jalen Hurts. And that is such a wasted opportunity in a game against an opponent that you should beat. I get the Jags are playing a lot better than we expected. Trevor Lawrence is finally showing some development. But if you want to be a Super Bowl contender like Jerry Jones preaches and how the team talks, like you can't blow those games. And it's going to leave very legitimate questions come playoff time. Do you trust the Cowboys when it matters? And I'm not sure. That game surely doesn't instill any confidence. And, Mike McCarthy being the head coach doesn't either.
Yeah. All right, Craig, back at you. Playoff, the NFC and playoff landscape. We know it's about to shift again because injuries, matchups. So right now, the official playoff picture, and we're going to get to this in our next topic about the AFC number 1 seed. So right now, just leave that until the next topic. But do you see the playoff landscape shifting? Because right now the Dolphins are in 7th, the Chargers are in 6th, the Ravens are 5th, the Titans are 4th, the Bengals are 3rd, the Chiefs are 2, the Bills are 1.
Shifting in terms of just teams.
Yeah, do you think the Dolphins are gonna make it?
Huh?
Yeah, do you think the Dolphins are gonna make it?
Oh, yeah. In terms of the 7, I got that's the 7 that I have.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be some shifting around with some of the teams, like moving around, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, maybe just 2 teams that I have, but yeah, I think this is the 7 that's going to make the playoffs. I think this is a big game for the Jets. It's a big game for the Patriots now, even bigger one. It's a big game for the Jaguars as well. But you know what? Maybe that last game of the season, if Jacksonville can win out, that last game of the season is going to be very
big.
The Titans. So who knows what's going to happen there? But I mean, that could decide that they might flex that game if they keep winning out. But yeah, right now this is the 7 that I have, so I'm not changing those teams.
And the NFC,
NFC, I gotta move. I think after that, I said whoever wins that Commanders Giants game is going to make it. Whoever didn't, I don't think is going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking the Commanders out. I had them in at 6.
Go ahead, do it.
Taking them out, and I'm gonna actually throw in. I agree with what you said last week. You said the Lions are going to make it. I got to go with the Lions at this point. I think they have an easy schedule. Mm-hmm. I guess the only tough game that they have really is the Packers game, and maybe by that point, the Packers might be starting Jordan Love. And
yeah,
actually, if the Packers lose this week, which I think they will in Miami, then I mean you're looking at a game that probably had some meaning, but now I mean it's going to be a tough game because it's a division game, but
yeah.
It's not going to mean as much or be as tough if Aaron Rodgers is not playing quarterback and Jordan Love is, just to see what they have is trying to evaluate them or whatever. But also I see a couple teams shifting still. Minnesota and San Francisco moving, flip flopping. I still don't believe in Minnesota like that. So, yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. The Giants have a tough remaining 3 games, but I mean, at the end of the game or at the end of the season, they play the Eagles. Eagles probably won't have nothing to play for.
They're going to be resting. Yeah.
Yeah, they got to win one more game. So, and then they'll wrap up home field. The Vikings game is going to be tough. I think the Colts game is going to be tough because of their defense, and then the Eagles game is the Eagles game. But that's what I got.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that we're going to discuss the number 1 seed because that's going to shift to 1, 2, and 3. The Titans, they're in a predicament. they just said it came out today. Ryan Tannehill might not play the rest of the season, and I, uh, I, I don't know. I think that game could get flexed. Jaguars could make it. They could win the division. Um, you know, so it's interesting. I do see the Chargers. I do see the Dolphins. I do see the Ravens. The Titans is the only question mark. And those three teams at the top, we're going to talk about that later, but those have almost clinched for real. So that's the only one, man. It's going to be interesting. These all games are must win now, you know. Um, Eagles aren't. They're probably going to clinch that. Um, I don't. I know Dallas has been looking forward to them. So even if they lose to Dallas, they'll probably be. Who do they have? I believe they have somebody really easy.
The Saints.
Yeah. They'll
They
even if they lose to the Cowboys, they'll beat the Saints, and then they'll clinch home field. Or if Jalen Hurts plays, they'll clinch home field, and then he'll rest the last two games. I mean, they could do that. They could say Jalen Hurts plays, they beat Dallas, clinch home field, and then
and the rest.
Gardner Minshew starts the final two games because they got the number one seed. You need health matters in the playoffs. So I could definitely see the 49ers finish in the second, the Vikings finish the third. I can see the Cowboys finish in the fifth. I see the Bucks finish in the fourth. I thought Commanders should have won. I think we're going to miss the playoffs. And I think it's going to be the Lions. I think the Lions have the easier schedule. I think they're going to win out. I know they have the Packers at home, but you're right, Craig. If the Green Bay doesn't beat the Dolphins, and then after the Dolphins, they got the Vikings. So Green Bay they don't have an easy stretch, And I think the Dolphins, they're going to be at home. They're going to give them work. It's nice and warm down there, man. So I think that, the Dolphins are in a must win. I think we'll talk about that and who you got. But yeah, I see the Lions. Commanders should have won. I think that we got San Francisco and we have Cleveland. And I just, the way our offense is, I don't see us beating Cleveland. I don't know. We might not beat Cleveland. I don't know, man. I gotta see because it's the way we're playing, man. It's not as good, and I heard somebody today like San Francisco beats the opponents up so bad that the next week they play worse because of how physical San Francisco 49ers are. Now we always play them close, but I don't see us winning that game. And I don't know. The Cleveland game is going to be in the air. And then we have the Cowboys. So it depends. It all depends. The Cowboys could be resting because they have the fifth seed. If the Eagles clinch and the Cowboys know they have the fifth seed, weeks 18 comes, they might be resting their players, and then we get a win. So it's going to be interesting, but I don't and then the Lions have the tiebreaker. So if the Lions win out, we would have to win out, and I don't see that. I see us losing to San Francisco. And the Lions have the tiebreaker over us. So, that's how I see it. All right, Mo.
AFC, I honestly think I think Kansas City's going to get the one.
We're going to talk about that later, Mo.
Oh, all right. Oh, okay. Let's go down there. Cincy, I think Baltimore's going to win this week. I think next week Baltimore's going to win. I think both teams are going to win this week. I think next week I think Baltimore's going to beat Pittsburgh, and I think Cincinnati is going to lose to Buffalo, which is going to set up a flex. Winner takes it flex in week 18.
Mm-hmm.
For that, I think winner will get the 3 seed, loser will get the 5. Tennessee's in trouble. And I think that will be a very interesting matchup both ways. Either if Jacksonville win that division, them versus Baltimore, them versus Cincinnati would be a very intriguing first round matchup.
You said Baltimore versus Cincinnati?
No, I was saying either way, whoever gets that 5 seed will face Jaguars if they win that division.
Oh yeah,
I think that'd be an interesting matchup both ways. And then what makes it interesting is the winner of the division will probably end up playing Miami. I think Miami's going to get the 6 seed. So I think whoever wins that division, that would be, especially if it's Cincy. Oh man, like Cincy versus Miami first round. Oh, that's gonna be I'm definitely gonna get some snacks and popcorn for that one.
Oh yeah,
I think that's definitely going to be an interesting game. 7 seed, I think Chargers are going to get in. I just think the Chargers are going to get in now. I think now the door is open. I think now amongst each other and amongst the coaching staff, they know that if you blow this situation, you might be out the door. Like if you blow this one, you might be out the door. NFC side of it, NFC side of it, oh man, Detroit scares me. And now that we lost that game and they got the tiebreaker over us, that's kind of scary to me because now we put ourselves in a situation where this San Fran game is kind of must win. If we lose it, we got to beat Cleveland and Dallas, and then we got to ask for help. I don't think the Giants are going to win this week against Vikings. Next week is kind of a toss. They play Colts. And then they play Philly, who's going to be resting people. Green Bay's going to be eliminated this weekend. They're not being Miami. I'm sorry. I just don't think that's going to happen. So they'll be eliminated. So now you're looking at Detroit, who looking at their schedule now, it's like, oh man, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's possible. So I still think Seattle's done. Seattle's going to lose this weekend versus the Chiefs. So that's going to push them back even more. So I think we're going to get in. I think it's going to be a combination. I don't know if it's a combination where us and the Lions or us and the Giants can get in, but I think we're still going to get in. I just see. I'm still going to hold out hope.
Okay. All right. Corey, what do you see the playoff landscape shaking up?
I think last week did as we kind of said it would. It gave a lot of clarity to the playoff picture. Honestly, at this point, like I ran through the ESPN playoff machine a couple of times to see how stuff shook out. And essentially, I came down to 3 things that are still up in the air for the most part.
Okay.
I think where the Ravens end up, I do think they end up sliding from the 5 seed as Lamar gets healthy.
Yeah.
But I think they're still in the playoffs. Shockingly, the winner of the AFC South, which won, I think it's Tannehill's going down, gives the Jaguars a legitimate chance.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy. 2, I think it also throws out the potential overreaction or panic of Jim Irsay on firing Frank Reich and stilling Jeff Saturday and then forcing Sam Eilinger out there, because I agree with the quarterback change, but if you throw Nick Foles instead of Sam Eilinger, are you in the hunt to win the South still?
So, damn, I didn't even think about it. If he never fired Frank Reich, y'all could be in the hunt.
I mean, even if they fired Frank Reich, I mean, if Foles was playing, I think if you went to Foles instead of Eilinger, they probably beat the Commanders because they get better offensive production.
Definitely beat the Vikings.
And I think Reich's still there. I think they potentially make their way into the playoffs at this point.
Damn.
So
That's interesting.
Potential series of mistakes.
Yeah, he's got to be thinking about that. That's why you don't fire coaches mid-year. Just wait till the end of the year, man. Anyway, go ahead, Corey.
Your dice have been thrown. Just let things fall as they may. And then I think the final playoff seed in the NFC is up for grabs. And you're right. I think Detroit has the inside track right now because essentially if Washington's in a position in the last 3 weeks of the season that they control their own path. If they win 3 games, they make the playoffs. San Francisco's a really tough opponent. I think there's a really, really good chance that they luck out and Dallas has nothing to play for week 18 and probably sits their guys as a bye week getting ready for the playoffs. So I think week 17 and 18 should chalk up as wins. The Commanders' playoffs start today or this week against the 49ers. So, because on the AFC side, look, the Patriots and Jets are still in contention. If they make the playoffs, they will 100% have played their way in and have earned it. There is no backing into the playoffs like the Buccaneers are going to do. But I don't have any faith in either of those two teams right now to be able to get over the hump against any of the teams ahead of them, frankly. So I think, after this last week gave a lot of clarity. This week we'll know. I think we'll have a pretty good idea about Washington's fate after this week, and if the Titans falter at all they had to just pull Josh Dobbs off a practice squad.
Man. Shout out to him, Josh
Malik
Dobbs.
Willis going to guide them to the playoffs?
Oh, no. He's looked like a rookie. He looks like what we thought, that it's a learning curve.
Yeah. A talented young quarterback that needs time to sit.
Yeah. Man. Jeez. All right. I'm going to start with this one. We the race for the AFC number 1 seed is pretty big. So right now it's between 3 teams, right? It's the Bills, Chiefs, Bengals. I'm going to continuously say this. I think the Chiefs end up with the number 1 seed clearly because of their schedule. And their schedule is very favorable. They have the Seahawks, Broncos, and Raiders, right? I think they went out. Even though the Texans have been frisky. Texans have been doing their thing. Buffalo, they beat Miami. I got that. They're going to beat Chicago, but they have the Bengals. Week 17 Bengals. That's going to be a big game for both, right? And I think because of the Chiefs' easy schedule and because they went out, I think the Chiefs are going to get the number 1 seed. Mo, I disagree with you. I think the Bengals beat the Bills. I think the way the Bengals are playing right now versus the way the Bills are playing right now, and the Chiefs aren't like, the Bengals aren't like Miami where we can't play in the cold. No, they're at Cincinnati. So they're built for these type of weather thing. I think, to be honest, I think it's the Bills end up the 3rd seed. I think they beat the Patriots. I just think they lose to the Bengals. And for the Bengals, I think the Bengals win out, but the Chiefs will have one more win over them. Now, if the Chiefs lose and the Bengals beat the Bills, then the Bengals will be the number 1 seed because they have the tiebreaker over the Chiefs and the Bills. But I just think the Chiefs have the number 1 seed. I think the Bengals beat the Bills for the number 2 seed. And I think the Bills have the number 3 seed, which potentially we could see the Bengals versus the Ravens first round of the playoffs, and we could see the Dolphins versus the Bills first round of the playoffs. We could, which will be very interesting. Right? Because the Chargers could have the 5th seed, and the Chargers will be playing the Jaguars, those are 3 really good, interesting matchups. Those are 3 good games, So that's how I see the first 3 seeds finishing. How do you see it, Bo?
The top 3. honestly, I see the Bills. I see the Bills getting. I see the Chiefs getting number 1. I see Bills at 2. I think Bengals going to get 3. Get 3. I think that's going to go. I can see it going those ways you said. But I just think the Chiefs are going to get it. Which I know some people might argue me with what I'm about to say, but if the Chiefs get the number 1 seed, I think you give Mahomes the MVP, and I think you don't even it shouldn't even be a question. But we'll deal with that another day. But I think Chiefs are going to end up number 1. I think Bills will be 2. I think Cincinnati will be 3. But I can see the winner of that Cincinnati Bills game going to be number 2. But I just think the Chiefs are going to get that number 1 seed regardless. Like I think the Chiefs are going to get that number 1 seed regardless. So that 2-3 could be a flop, but I think Chiefs are going to get number 1 seed. Honestly, I'm gonna stand by what I said. I don't know how it's going to happen, even though I don't think it's going to happen because Minnesota will have to lose this week versus Giants. There's no other way that San Francisco can catch up for that 2 seed. So I'm gonna say Minnesota still stays number 2, and I think San Fran's going to be number 3.
Okay.
Oh yeah. It just popped up on my phone too, James. Breaking news too. They said Tannehill very likely to be out for the season.
Yep.
Oh, and also sidebar. They just announced the Pro Bowlers for the Pro Bowl games. Yeah. Philly leading the way with 8 players.
Oh, of course.
And Dallas second. They got 7 players going.
Of course.
Baltimore. No matter of fact, Dallas and Kansas City have 7 players going. Yeah. Baltimore and San Francisco each have 6, and then Minnesota has 5.
Yeah, I figured that. Well, it's going to be. We'll definitely get to that when it comes up with the layout of the playoff game. I think they're doing not the playoff game, the Pro Bowl. I think they're doing flag football, and it's more interactive.
Yeah, and the other skills. Yeah, they're doing flag's going to be the main thing, but they're going to have a bunch of like skill competitions and different competitions, and then flag football is going to be the main thing.
So I might watch, might not. Anyway, I'm watching Pro Bowl in a minute. So yeah, I haven't. All right, Corey, what do you? AFC number 1 seed is pretty exciting because NFC most likely Eagles, right? With the AFC, we have Bengals, Bills, and Chiefs. What do you see? Who do you when the season's done? Who do you see as the top 3?
I'm right with you, James. I think Kansas City has an easy enough path. I think they get the 1. I do think that they have to play their guys all 3 weeks. I don't think they'll be in a position where they can sit anybody week 18.
No.
But I do think Kansas City should pull out the 1. Then I think Cincy will end up with the 2, and Buffalo will fall to the 3.
Yeah, they better not sit anybody. They're going to lose the number. They got to play all their starters. Everybody does, because that joint matters. It's too close. It's too close. Craig, how do you see it? How do you see it? The AFC playoff picture shaping out?
I got Kansas City 1 because of their schedule. The Buffalo Cincinnati game is going to be pretty much the deciding factor for the 2 seed. Just because I think Cincinnati's playing at home, so I have to go with them. So I think they're going to be ending up with the 2 seed, and then unless Lamar Jackson can come back and he's playing like MVP Lamar Jackson, then I think they could go in, and I think they could beat Cincinnati at Cincinnati the last game of the season. Mm-hmm. I'm just not sure what his health is going to be at that point in time. So I got to go Cincinnati 2 and Buffalo 3. I think Buffalo and Cincinnati will be same record, but Week 17 tiebreaker game pretty much puts Cincinnati at 2. So
yeah, Lamar Jackson he misses practice again. So
I don't know. He's healthy for the last week of the season and they can win that game. I mean, it's possible. Then they might see each other again in the first round. Who knows?
They might. That'll be interesting. That'll be very interesting. All right, so we're definitely not going to do the recap. She already did it. We're definitely going to do the breakout fantasy players. This is important, guys. It's the playoffs. So, what's in your head, Craig? This is the
It's playoffs
playoff.
for me.
So, hey, guys, if you listened to me last week, people, when you had Trevor Lawrence and Zay Jones, it's a combination.
I had Jay Jones. I ain't have Lawrence. I got Jay Jones on mine.
That's the only way I beat Joe. I was playing Joe. Shout out to him. I was nervous, but here I took a calculated risk. So I had Evan Ingram and Zay Jones, and I was like, "Damn, do I start T. Higgins or Zay Jones?" And then I was like, "You know what? If Trevor Lawrence has a bad game, so does Zay Jones and Evan Ingram. But if Trevor Lawrence explodes for 40 points, Ingram and Zay Jones are going to have big games." So I was like, I need to start them too. And I went with my instincts and I won the game. So now I'm in the playing somebody who's beat me. He's very hard to beat. I'm not gonna lie. I play the best team in the league. He's beat me twice. So, we gotta I gotta do some research because Zay Jones plays the Jets, so I don't know. We'll see. All right, I'm gonna start off. So my quarterback, I got Geno Smith. I think he comes in really well. He's playing the Chiefs, and he's not been bad. He played tough against San Francisco, but I think that the Chiefs give up a lot of points. They don't have a good defense. I expect the Chiefs to. We'll talk about who wins later. But I believe Geno Smith is going to have a big, breakout fantasy stardom. I think Alvin Kamara is for running back. I think you should start him, even though Mark Ingram's out for the year, and he's going against a team, Cleveland, who just gave up a lot of rushing yards to the Ravens. They can't stop the run. So definitely start Kamara. And for the wide receiver, I would go with Garrett Wilson playing the Jets. I think Jacksonville defense is spotty. I think that Zach Wilson targets Garrett Wilson a lot. I think he's going to get a lot of play. A receiver. Another receiver for flex play, if you have him, T. Higgins. We know Belichick likes to take away the first option with Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins is a very good number 2 receiver, so he might get extra looks as Joe Burrow and the offense is rolling. My tight end, I'm gonna go Evan Ingram. I think he's a good tight end to go to. I know he's probably one of the best tight ends, but he's had a good game. Or you can go. I shouted him out last week. Okay. The Tennessee Titans tight end. He's another sleeper. The only problem is I don't know if I would start him because the quarterback situation. If you had Tannehill, yes, but Tannehill is out. I don't think you start him. So, and for the defense, I'm gonna go with Houston. I might start Houston against Tennessee. I think that might be a good defense to go with, or you could start Raiders at Pitt. So, all right, Mo, breakout fantasy players.
Quarterback, I'm going to go with Deshaun Watson. I think I like some things I was seeing against Baltimore. I think they're coming to their own. I think it's a situation where they want to keep the steam going for next year. They want to give a glimpse to what it's going to look like next year.
Okay.
Running back, I like Atlanta's running back. I like him and I like Brian Robinson, man. I think we're gonna have to run the ball. We get to a shootout or sling the ball around the yard, somebody gonna get hurt. Then wide receivers, I like Garrett Wilson / Elijah Moore. And I also like I like Thielen. I think I saw what he did against the Colts. I think he might keep it going. I think Kirk Cousins realized that he got to get others involved to truly make this offense what it could be. So I like Thielen. Tight ends, I'm going to take. I like what you said, James. I like Ingram. He's been coming along, and I like the tight end from the Browns. Came out of Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Defense, I'll take the Browns. I think they're rolling. I think they're another situation where if you really look at that defense, there's top five. They've invested draft picks and money into that defense. And I think they're starting to play well. Ward is playing well. Newsom's playing well. Dupit is playing well. You know what Myles Garrett is going to give you. I think they got a lot of people playing well on that defense that they drafted and invested money into. And a sidebar right quick. I know we'll never talk about the kickers, but I think Justin Tucker is going to have a bounce back game. He missed the field goal last week and had a field goal block. So I think he's going to have a bounce back game.
Oh, man. Shout out to the kickers. Not me, though. Corey, breakout fantasy players.
Me, I try to look at guys that would be readily available on waiver wires. I know it's a little late since waivers.
Oh no, yeah, no. Yeah, go ahead.
Quarterback, I'm gonna say Gardner Minshew. I think it looks like there's a really good chance he plays. That Philly offense has a lot of weapons. Minshew has been in Philly for a couple of seasons now. I think he's had a chance to get some work with these guys, and I think it's he could have an interesting day. Running back wise, I'm going to say if you need running back help, don't sleep on Zach Moss. Taylor's shut down for the year, as he absolutely should be. I know a lot of people haven't watched much of the Colts because, well, I guess they have recently because the NFL's forced you to, but otherwise you haven't. The Deion Jackson had a massive game. So as soon as the Taylor news happened, I assume people were thinking, time to go get Deion Jackson. Zach Moss got 24 carries against the Vikings. And honestly, I think Moss looked better running the football. Jackson also had a just crippling fumble against Minnesota that I think might be able to potentially put him in the doghouse a bit. So I think Moss could be a solid play, and I think he could give you some solid production the last 2 weeks of your fantasy seasons. On that side, with the news of Nick Foles becoming the starter in Indianapolis, I think Alec Pierce is a decent pickup. Nick Foles is a guy that can at least throw the deep ball. Pierce has shown when given the opportunity that he can go up and get the football. And I think it's worth a gamble because he's probably a boomer bust guy. He's going to need a touchdown to get you production, but I think he's worth a low-end flex play if you're running into injuries. And then defenses, kind of have to just go Cleveland against New Orleans. I'm with you, James. I don't know why New Orleans stuck with the Andy Dalton show. Throw Jameis back out there. It can't be worse. So I think Cleveland will have a chance to get some turnovers and could have a decent day against underachieving at best New Orleans offense.
Yeah. All right, Craig, fantasy breakout players.
I got a couple people for each position. I guess I'll be quick though. Quarterback, I agree with Geno Smith. He hasn't been throwing the ball well, or he hasn't had the last couple games. But I think against Kansas City's defense, he should show up, even though he doesn't have Tyler Lockett, who's probably not going to play. But I think he can do enough to make plays and get fantasy points. Also, I don't. You know what? Okay, so I put Brock Purdy just because he's been playing pretty well, and they're not really asking him do a lot, even though he's playing against Washington. I think if he can just hit Christian McCaffrey a couple times like he's been doing, and George Kittle, I think he'll be fine to put up a decent amount of fantasy points. Running back, I got Jerick McKinnon. Ever since
good pick.
He's been balling out. He had a game-winning touchdown last week. I do agree with Moss as well. I think Moss came in against the Vikings and he played well. I think he's going to be the starter. So I expect him to get. I mean, I forgot. I didn't even know he was on this team until last week. I forgot where he was. But he's been
Buffalo, right? I'm tripping, right?
He was on Buffalo. Now
the trade for Nyheim Hines and him. Okay.
I forgot where he was, man.
Make sure I wasn't crazy because I thought that
all season. Wide receivers, just because they're playing Detroit, I got DJ Moore. I haven't said DJ Moore's name pretty much all season, so just so happens they have a good matchup. I don't really trust the quarterback, but they have a good matchup. Also, I do like Garrett Wilson. I think he got a lot of targets last week. He wasn't utilized a lot wasn't thrown the ball a lot by Wilson coming into this game, but are coming in pretty much since he went out basically. But I kind of like the connection there. They play in Jacksonville. They're at home, so I think he's going to get some targets there. Tight end, I got Noah Fant. Just because Tyler Lockett is out, I think Noah Fant's going to get some targets. Just another receiver that they can throw the ball to. And obviously, I do like it, David Njoku as well. For defense, I got the Rams. They're playing the Broncos. I think what's name is back this week?
Wilson. I was looking at that too.
I'm not sure though, but last time I checked, I think he was coming back or he was training to come back, but I'm not sure. But even still, I like the Rams defense. The Broncos offense is horrible. I think they finally got 20 points for the first time in weeks last week against the Cardinals. So, and then I also I do like the Browns. I think they're playing well. The Saints, I have no clue what's going on there with that team. If your name is not Chris Olave, I don't know who's on that offense, or Alvin Kamara. I don't know who's on that offense. I don't even know who was catching touchdown passes last week against the Falcons. So I like the Browns.
Yeah, man. All right.